London attack suspect identified. Teen driver pleads not guilty. Hi, I'm Daniel Bakri with Kappa News. The attacker who plowed a car through pedestrians and then stabbed a policeman outside Britain's parliament has been identified as British-born Khalid Masood. The fourth victim has also been identified as Leslie Rhodes from South London. The 52-year-old man had a string of criminal convictions, although none of them were for terrorism-related offences. An Islamic State-affiliated news agency claimed that the extremist group was behind Wednesday's rampage, though it did not name Masood and gave no details. It was not clear whether the attacker was directly connected to the jihadist group. Prime Minister Theresa May earlier told Parliament the attacker had once been investigated by the MI5 intelligence agency over concerns about violent extremism. So far, police have arrested 8 people at 6 locations in London and Birmingham in the investigation into the attack. American Kurt Cochran and Aisha Frade, a British woman of Spanish origin, were killed when Masood rammed a rental car onto the sidewalk on Westminster Bridge on Wednesday. Masood then stabbed unarmed officer 48-year-old Keith Palmer before he was shot dead by police. A fourth victim, a 75-year-old man, died Thursday night at a hospital. About 40 people were injured in the attack, 7 in critical condition. The 19-year-old teenager who allegedly drove against traffic flow and killed a man on the North-South Expressway has been charged with driving under the influence of drugs and causing death and injury. In a very loud voice, Ng Pei Ven pleaded not guilty before Magistrate Jamalia Abdul Manap after a court interpreter read the charge to her in Mandarin. According to the charge, Ng was claimed to have driven under the influence of drugs to such an extent as to be incapable of having proper control of a vehicle, causing the death of 26-year-old Muhammad Fandi Rosli at kilometer 134 of the North-South Expressway. Ng is charged with committing the offence under the Road Transport Act 1987, which carries a jail term between 3 and 10 years or a fine between 8 and 20,000 ringgit or both. Under the charge, Ng's driving license will be immediately suspended until the trial ends. She will also have a driving license suspended for a minimum of 5 years if convicted. The magistrate granted bail at 7,000 ringgit with 2 sureties and set May 12th for mention pending the results of a chemistry report. Ng allegedly drove her car against traffic on the highway near Permatang Pau on March 14th, which resulted in collisions with 4 other vehicles and the death of Muhammad Fandi. On March 17th, Ng pleaded not guilty and claimed trial to a charge of taking amphetamine in the same court. Meanwhile, in another court case, a nanny could face 30 years in jail after being charged with causing the death of a 3-year-old girl in her care. 23-year-old Gloria Erin Liwi from Sarawak claimed trial on Friday before the Sessions Court. She was accused of causing the toddler's death at her home in Sungai Way, Selangor, between 1 and 4 in the afternoon on March 14th. In the incident, the toddler was found unconscious before being pronounced dead at 5:40 while receiving treatment at University Malaya Medical Center. She was believed to have been abused. Judge Kamil Nizam allowed bail at 15,000 ringgit with 1 surety, with additional conditions that the accused surrender her passport and report to the nearest police station once a month. He also fixed the next mention on April 24th for exchange of documents. A car accessory salesman stabbed his girlfriend to death in her room, then tried to commit suicide after they quarreled. Sarawak CID Chief Senior Assistant Commissioner Datuk Dev Kumar said the 25-year-old was brought to the Sarawak General Hospital Friday morning with stab wounds to his abdomen, neck and wrists. Upon questioning, the 25-year-old said he had accused his girlfriend of seeing another man behind his back, which led to the argument. He then took a knife and stabbed her in the neck before stabbing himself. Police visited the scene and found the victim with stab wounds on her neck and a blood-stained knife close to her body. The man, who is still undergoing treatment at the hospital, is under arrest for murder. An oil palm plantation supervisor has been charged in the magistrate's court with 15 counts of trafficking humans, including 2 teenage boys between April 2016 and February 2017. El Ganis from Bahau in Negeri Sembilan pleaded not guilty to the charges before Magistrate Nur Hidayah Muhammad Saad on Friday. He is accused of trafficking 15 people, including 7 women aged between 13 and 66, for the purpose of turning them into forced laborers at a plantation in Pangkalan Hulu, Perak. Ganis was charged with the offenses under Section 12, 13, and 14 of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act. He faces up to 20 years in jail and a fine for each charge under Sections 13 and 14, and up to 15 years imprisonment or a fine under Section 12. Ganis was also charged for having a tattoo linked to the Gang 04, and if found guilty, faces a maximum jail term of 5 years and a maximum fine of 15,000 ringgit. He will only know whether bail is granted to him on March 27th. 5 migrants were found dead in the Sea of Libya, and many more are feared to have shared the same fate after the boats they were traveling in sank. Proactiva Open Arms, one of several groups operating in the area, said it was notified that an inflatable boat was sinking early on Thursday and found another going down shortly afterwards. A rising number of migrants are attempting to cross the central Mediterranean this year after a deal between the European Union and Turkey largely shut down a route to Greece. Meanwhile, in Iraq, families living in the northern region flee their homes in the thousands each day as Iraqi forces are preparing a fresh push against the Islamic State using new tactics. On Thursday, nearly 200 people fleeing the Islamic State-held town of Hawija arrived in Kirkuk. Hawija is strategically located between Baghdad and Mosul and is near the Kurdish-held oil region of Kirkuk. The region north of Baghdad became an Islamic State stronghold when the Sunni militants swept across northern and western Iraq in 2014. And over in the United States, it's a do-or-die ultimatum from President Donald Trump to House Republicans. Trump suffered an embarrassing setback on Thursday when a decision over the new healthcare bill had to be postponed, apparently due to a lack of support. The US president said if lawmakers don't get behind his plans to scrap and replace Obamacare on Friday, he'll just keep it in place and move on to another top priority like tax reform. But the Republican Party is divided on whether the bill goes too far or not far enough, and Democrats stand united against it. Even if Trump's replacement plan gets the 215 votes it needs to pass in the House, it has a potentially tough fight ahead in the Senate. The White House has insisted there is no plan B if the bill fails. That's all for today's Cuppa. Have a nice weekend.